On this Three Pillars Academy episode, I am joined by Johnny Williamson, Director of Athletics and Adventure Sports at Warren Wilson College, and we are going to be talking about retention of working mothers in college athletics. Thank you, Johnny, for joining us. Let's dive in to talking about the work that you are doing on retention of working mothers in college athletics.
Yes, thanks for having me. We, as part of my doctorate program at ETSU, East Tennessee State University, in global sport leadership, I decided to focus my research on the retention of working mothers in intercollegiate athletics. Throughout my career, I continue to see and hear about women leaving the profession after they have children. I support their decisions, but can't help but wonder, how can we make intercollegiate athletics more supportive and retain our working mothers? My hope is that with this research, it can help create more awareness and strategies to ultimately retain working mothers in our field.
Talk about some of the highlights, the facts, the stats that you found and learned throughout your research on this topic.
In my research, I found that flexibility is extremely important in working mothers situations. Their needs vary among each other, depending on, how old their kids are, what their situation looks like. And they, may need things such as, being able to come into work early, leave early, work from home, flex when needed, do some job sharing when possible, being able to take their kids to a doctor's appointment, attending family or kids' functions, and having an environment where moms feel that they can bring their kids to work on an occasional basis. By providing this type of flexibility, it can help support and create an environment where mothers do not feel as much mom guilt when they cannot do everything they want to do at the same time. Now, don't get me wrong, these moms may want flexibility, but they still provide a great work result. The definition of a good worker is changing, in my opinion. In the past, a good worker may have been someone who is, just so dedicated that they're always at work, they sacrifice their personal life for the good of the organization. But the definition of a good worker is changing. And even though an individual may need some flexibility, they can still go above and beyond, be an ideal worker, and in fact, maybe a better worker because they'll be happier at home. And I've also found that maternity leave and parental leave benefits vary across employers. Most women have taken maternity leave, but some did it partly paid, some unpaid, some had to collect and combine their vacation and sick time, and some were fully supported throughout their entire maternity leave. It really varied across the group. And ultimately, it is important to support women as they take maternity leave and not make it a stressful process, both personally and financially, if you can help it. Many moms chose to breastfeed. It became clear that having a lactation room was uncommon in athletic departments, and many had to go across campus or a farther distance. I read one went up to a mile, on their campus, and some had to mostly just try and pump in their room, in their office. And so women can find that challenging to be able to pump when they need to, depending also on their meeting schedule or what their workload looks like that day. So that's definitely an area that came up quite a bit. And then I also found that many women felt that motherhood impacted their future professional goals. Many women did not aspire to become athletic directors or move up while being a mother due to the time and stress that it would take. So those are just some highlights, but my hope is to publish this research in the spring of 21.
You are a working mother in intercollegiate athletics yourself. Can you talk about how your experiences have helped you in your research?
Yes, I am passionate about this topic because I'm a mother of two. I have a 6 and an almost 10-year-old. I have mainly worked in college athletics throughout my professional career. I did step outside of athletics for a few years and returned a year after my son was born. But luckily, I worked with another mom who understood the challenges I faced and supported me, even as maybe I had to bring my kid in to work at a 5 a.m. workout because my husband was traveling. So I found myself just kind of figuring it out as I went along. It wasn't easy, but definitely, you just kind of learn as you go. And now that I'm leading my own department, I found that I have more control over influencing and supporting my working parents. And I'm trying to provide a flexible and supportive work environment while continuing to work through it myself.
Have you found institutions, organizations, schools have plans set in place to help retain their working mothers in intercollegiate athletics?
I find that some institutions, organizations, and schools focus on working mothers, but not enough, which is the reason why I've chosen this topic to really focus on. I want to help raise awareness around this issue so that college athletics is thinking about it and how to support their working moms to keep them in this profession. A great article came out a few years ago from the NCAA magazine about, where are the women? Well, I can tell you, I keep seeing mothers leave the profession, and I want to help fix that outcome. So as I mentioned before, I can remember a number of times of hearing women leave the profession after having a kid, and everyone kind of understanding, why they made that decision. However, an employer can help by creating a family-friendly culture for men and women. They can be proactive and have serious conversations about how to support parents so that leaving is not the outcome. For example, employers are required to offer a lactation room for mothers who are breastfeeding, but it's not something that is really discussed beforehand if another working mom hasn't come before them. I would encourage people to talk to their leadership about creating a family-friendly atmosphere within their department. Ask yourself, is your department fully supporting their parents? What are the parents' needs? How can you help support that need? And what would you like to see changed in order to stay here?
Through your research and personal experiences, what recommendations do you have for working mothers in intercollegiate athletics?
I would recommend taking the time to talk with other working moms, who've either left the profession or are still currently in the profession. They've done it, they've experienced it, they've worked through the challenges or made changes to make it work for them. These conversations will help future working mothers plan on how to continue to work in college athletics while being a great mom. It's really important to create a supportive network and help others, and not be afraid to ask for help. You can't do it all, right? A parent's needs change as their child grows. In the beginning, if you're breastfeeding, ask for a place to pump while at work. Make sure it's a comfortable environment for you. If you have a daycare nearby, ask for flexibility to go feed your child or see them throughout the day. Ask for flexibility to bring your kid to work, appropriately. Create a network, a supportive network for childcare. Try not to let yourself feel so much guilt. A lot of moms really feel that guilt, and you got to figure out how to balance that. You'll not be able to do everything you did before you had a kid, and that's just the way it is, right? As an administrator, you may not be able to attend every home game, or you may need to bring your kids to the game, and that's all right. As a coach, you may have your parent or partner come along on an away trip to support the need for your child to be with you, or you may just need to plain bring them to a game and coach with them. I know it varies at different levels, but that sometimes is the outcome. I found that teams really love and support, kids and babies, so you have a lot of support there. And then I would say also circumstances vary at different levels. Some coaches may be able to afford a nanny, or others can't. So work within your means, but figure out how it is, what your support team looks like. And again, just as a reminder, it's okay to ask for help. And lastly, I'd be intentional with finding a work environment that's right for you, that supports your needs as a parent.
Lastly, through your research, what recommendations do you have for institutions on how they can support and retain their working mothers?
I would be intentional about supporting working women. Ask them what they need and how you can help support them. Think of things as simple as asking if there are times during the day that are not best to schedule a meeting so you can plan around it. If you're breastfeeding, you're probably pumping 3 times a day, and it's best if you can plan that out. Be thoughtful, supportive, proactive. Practice what you preach. And if you don't practice a family-friendly environment, change how you operate and are doing things. Hire more working mothers. There aren't enough of us working in intercollegiate athletics. And what I hear from many moms is they want to see that. They want to be able to learn from others. They want to not be the only person doing it. And it really does create a more supportive working environment. And then I would ask leadership to assess their department. Survey your staff, listen to their needs, ask hard and necessary questions. How is your maternity leave policy? Do you have a lactation room in your building? Do you provide a flexible work arrangement? Ask, what can I do to make intercollegiate athletics at my organization work for working mothers?
Well, thank you for joining us on this topic. I know I've taken away a lot of tangible examples on just in the future, when one day I am a mother, to think about and to have that perspective. So thank you so much for joining us on this 3 Pillars Academy episode.
Thanks for having me.